Have you ever really looked at a leaf and wondered how it turns pure sunlight into, well, life itself? It's not magic. It is some of the most incredible microscopic engineering on the planet. So today we're going to take a tour of this high-tech energy factory. Let's head inside. Okay, here's our tour itinerary. First, we'll get our bearings and find the factory floor. Then we'll meet the amazing solar collecting machinery. After that, we'll follow the main assembly line, check out a specialist circuit for custom jobs, and finally, we'll inspect the finished products. All right, first things first, we gotta find the factory. And to do that, we need to shrink ourselves down, way, way down, into the microscopic world. So, our whole journey starts with the leaf. You can think of this as the entire factory building. It's a completely self-contained power plant, perfectly designed to soak up sunlight and turn it into usable fuel. Okay, now we're zooming way in, past the cell wall, and we've arrived. This little green bean-shaped thing is the chloroplast. This is the main factory floor. And see those stacks of what look like little pancakes? Those are the grana, and that's exactly where the first shift, the light reactions, all happens. Now, this whole factory is split into two major departments, or two shifts. Today, we're focusing entirely on that first shift, the light-dependent reactions. Its entire job is to capture raw energy from sunlight. The second department, well, it uses that energy to build stuff. But here's the thing, neither one can work without the other. So, let's head over to our next stop on the tour and meet the incredible machinery that actually captures the sunlight, the solar collectors. This is where it gets really cool. These photosystems aren't just one molecule doing all the work. No way. You've got hundreds of pigment molecules acting like a giant satellite dish or an antenna. They gather up all that light energy and funnel it right down to one special pair of chlorophyll molecules, what you could call the boss pigment, sitting in the reaction center. It's the only one that can actually kick off the chemical reaction. But here's the thing. The factory floor doesn't just have one type of the solar collector. To make things run smoothly, it has two different specialized models, and they have to work together. So meet Photosystem 1 and Photosystem 2. They're pretty simpler, but they're each tuned to absorb slightly different colors of light, and they do different jobs on the assembly line. And here's a great piece of trivia for you. They're named for when they were discovered, not the order they work in. So even though Photosystem 1 has a 1 in its name, Photosystem 2 actually does its job first in the process. It's a classic case of scientists naming something before they knew the whole story. You know, that raises a pretty good question. If that boss pigment in the reaction center is the only one that can start the reaction, why even bother with all those other antenna pigments? Why not just pack the whole factory with the main one? Well, the answer is just brilliant, and there are two parts to it. First, all those other pigments, like carotenoids, can grab colors of light that the main chlorophyll can't. That means the factory can use more of the available sunlight. And second, they act like a built-in sunscreen. They absorb any excess energy that could fry the super important reaction center. It's an amazing design for both efficiency and safety. Okay, so we know how the energy is collected. Now let's follow that energy as it gets put to work on the main assembly line. This is where the action happens. In this diagram, called the Z-scheme, is our map. I know it looks a little complicated, but it's really just checking one thing, the energy level of a single electron. Just follow along. See how it gets a big boost of energy from light. Then it loses some energy as it does some work, and then bam, it gets another boost of energy from light. That distinctive up-down-up shape is exactly why it's called the Z-scheme. Okay, so let's focus on the very beginning. When light hits photosystem 2, an electron gets so energized that it literally just jumps out of its position. Now that's great, that's what starts the whole assembly line, but it leaves behind a hole, a vacancy. To keep the factory running, that electron has to be replaced, and fast. But where in the world does it get a new one? The solution is, and I'm not exaggerating, one of the most important chemical reactions on the entire planet. The factory literally rips water molecules apart. This process, called photolysis, does three crucial things. It provides the replacement electron for photosystem 2, it releases protons that help make energy, and it generates a waste product that changed everything, the oxygen that we breathe. Okay, so back to our Z-scheme map. The electron, now replaced by one from water, travels from PS2 along something called the electron transport chain. As it moves, its energy is used to help make our first product, ATP. Then it arrives at photosystem I, gets another jolt of light energy, and finally gets passed off to create our second big energy product, a high-energy carrier molecule called NADPH. Now, that main assembly line is the workhorse, for sure, but it's not the only process running in this factory. Sometimes the cell's energy needs change, and for that, it has a specialist circuit. You see, sometimes the next stage of photosynthesis needs a lot more ATP than it needs NADPH. So to balance the energy budget, the factory can run this alternate pathway. An electron gets energized in photosystem 1, but instead of going off to make NADPH, it gets sent on a little detour. It's cycled back through part of the chain just to make some extra ATP, and then it ends up right back where it started at PSI. No water is split, no oxygen is made, it's just a quick ATP top-up system. And the real genius is in the factory's layout. The main assembly line, which needs both photosystems, is located in those granostacks where PSI and PS2 are packed closely together. But that specialist circuit, which only needs photosystem 1, runs almost exclusively on the stromal lamellae. Those are the bridges connecting the stacks, because that's where you find most of the PSI. This physical separation is brilliant. It keeps the two assembly lines from getting in each other's way. And this production report just lays it all out. The non-cyclic pathway, that uses both photosystems. It splits water, it makes oxygen, and it produces both ATP and NADPH. The cyclic pathway, that just uses photosystem 1, no water splitting, no oxygen, and it only makes ATP. It's different machinery for different jobs, located in different parts of the factory. Simple as that. Which brings us to the end of our tour, the final inspection. Let's take a look at the high-energy products that have been rolling off these assembly lines. What have we actually made here? And here they are, the finished goods. First up, we've got ATP. This is like the universal, ready-to-spend energy cache of the cell. Then we've got NADPH, which you can think of as a fully charged battery, carrying around high-energy electrons. And, of course, there's the byproduct that changed the world, oxygen. So, before we clock out, let's do a quick lightning round review. The key raw materials are water, ADP, and NADP+. Remember, water gets split at photosystem 2, not 1, and that's where our oxygen comes from. The Z-scheme gets its shape from the electrons changing energy levels. And finally, that cyclic pathway is just the factory's way of making extra ATP when it's running low. So the first shift in our energy factory is officially complete. The light reactions have done their job. They've successfully turned solar power into chemical energy. These supercharged molecules, ATP and NADPH, are now being shipped out of the grana to the second wing of the factory. Their job is done, but the story of photosynthesis is only halfway over. Which leaves us with a pretty big question. How is this energy cache and these charged batteries actually going to be used to build sugar, seemingly out of thin air?